Hello my lovely quilters, and it's time for another mini masterclass. Today we are going to talk about edge to edge with a border. The first thing I want to do is set up my measurements. So if you go and measure your quilt from the inside to the outside, inside, outside, so left, middle, and right, and then on the inside where your edge to edge is going to be, minus your border, of course, then measure that. So you will have two measurements. Well, actually, you'll have 6 measurements. What you want to do is take the exterior measurements, your left side, your middle, and your right side, and you want to do an average of those. So same thing with the inside. Do an average of those 3 measurements because a lot of quilts aren't always perfectly squared up, and so you don't want to actually put in the short side and then have some extras that you need to accommodate. This is one of those things, with edge to edge, we could just put it on there and then we crop at the bottom where we need to. It's a little bit more difficult if you're doing the borders, if you're adding extra borders. So I am going to now go over to Pro Stitcher and show you what I do. Just a quick show what I do. So the first thing I do is I add a box, right? And so I've got the 4-inch square from the Pro Stitcher designs, and I want to resize that. So I'm going to modify and I'm going to resize that, and I'm going to, my width on this one is 65. So I'm going to go ahead and put 65, and then my height is 78. So this actually is a relatively normal quilt that happens in the shop. And so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to actually edit and duplicate. Okay, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to resize. I have 2, right? So I have my interior and I have my exterior. So height on my interior is 66, and then height width on my interior is 53, and enter. And so now what I want to do is bring this up. So I'm just going to kind of bring it up to the center. Now I can actually put this in the center of this. So in order to do that, then I would have to do my area, and I'll do my area in a second, just a second. I will actually show you what I'm going to do. So you don't want a baseline, you don't want to connect these two at this point. You can, but you're going to be deleting these anyway before you go stitch out. So I do this pretty much row by row is kind of the way I set up. So I'm going to go ahead and do my area. I need to get on simulation here so I can bring my area up. I'm going to do the first one. Now, what you can do on the inside is just bring it in shortly in. You don't want to take it all the way to your seams, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 corner. And this kind of gives a little break between the 2 designs. So if you just come in and do let's bring it down just slightly, and do another 2 corners. So now I have my interior area. It's just slightly smaller than my actual quilt interior, okay? And that's all right. So I'm going to go File, Design, and I'm going to go ahead and open up a design. I'd gone through here earlier, and I think the wrench works. Pro Stitcher Design wrench works is a real good one. So I'm going to use that one for my interior. And as you know, you go to Repeat, and then you can fill your area, right? And so we still have a little bit extra, so I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out there, and vertical, and I think I want to actually go ahead and stretch it just so it gets all of this in. So I'm going to stretch this up, I'm going to go back over to horizontal, and I'm going to stretch that out to make sure that everything is there. Now, when I actually am quilting this out, I am going to be quilting row by row. So let's try this first. There are so many different ways of doing this. You can actually bring in the whole thing, and then you can crop it so you have you're stitching out that whole box, and then that way that little teeny weeny 1/4 inch is going to be obvious, right? So with this, it's not going to be that obvious, and that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and baseline. All right, and then I'm going to get rid of my area, and I'm going to look at it and just see if this is looking like I like, and I think it's okay. It looks good to me. Now what I need to do is I need to do an area of my borders. Let's think about our borders just a minute. If I do, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it in, File, Designs, and I picked out Susan Manry's traditional piano keys. Okay, so I'm going to look at this here, and I am going to try to see, how do I want to put it? Do I actually want to do it in the corner and everything? And I think I'm going to. So I need to move this out right now so that it doesn't get in my way and confuse me. Now I'm going to go back over to simulation, and I'm going to come up here to right about, well, I'll go ahead, because since we're going to be cutting it off and binding it anyway, you want your lines to go straight into your binding. Now, if you pick something else for your border, like a feather, you're going to want to come in a 1/4 inch or so that you don't chop it off. Remember that you don't want to cut your feathers off as you are binding. So unless, well, some people, I guess, might want to do that. But since these are piano keys, I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to come out just a little bit. And this time when I go to area, I'm going to actually do multi-point. Okay, now I'm going to come down right here inside, right on that line, and right on that line, as closest to that line as you can get. You have to be careful not to. So when you're actually setting up your area on the quilt, you're going to come up just a little bit, because you don't want it coming down into your seams, because as it's clearing off, as it's stitching out, it might actually start clipping your seams. So you also have to be careful for that. Since I'm doing it on simulation, I'm not going to worry about it just yet. So now I'm going to come all the way over to this side and do another multi-point, and then I'm going to come up to that corner and do a multi-point, and now I can fill in the spot. Okay, so now let's go ahead and repeat, and I'm going to fill and stretch out, so I could stretch out just a little bit, and it sees now here there's a little bit there, so that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that just much, because I can actually, when I'm actually quilting this out, I can manipulate this and make sure that we're quilting it. We are, even though we have a computer that we're quilting it, it's not going to be perfect, and I'm okay with not being perfect. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and baseline that, and now I'm going to crop, and I'm going to crop outside, and I'm going to close my edges. Okay, so now I'm going to baseline that, and I am going to now come up, and I also have to create another area. So I'm going to clear this area. So that's baselined, right? And now I'm going to clear that area, and I'm going to come do the same thing over here. I'm going to come back up to this top over here and multi-point, and then I'm going to come down right here, and I'm going to multi-point, and now I'm going to come down to here, right here, and I just want to set up these corners right here. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit and show you what I'm going to do. Right here, I am coming in to right at that line. So at the edge of that, I might be just a little bit off, but that's okay. So you want to get as close to the bottom of that first row as you can. All right, and now I'm going to move over just slightly because I want it to be right at that. I'm going to go ahead and click on multi-point and bring this over and in a straight line and multi-point. So now let's go back and look at it to see what it looks like, and it looks good to me. So what I need to do is I need to take this top right here. Okay, I'm going to go select it, and I'm going to edit and duplicate. Okay, and so now I've duplicated it. So I'm just for fun, I'm going to see if that actually lines up right there or if I'm going to have to crop it again. So now what I need to do is I need to turn it. So I'm going to modify and rotate. Okay, and I'm going to rotate it twice this way, and I'm going to bring it down here. See, it's off just a little bit. So that's okay, because I'm going to bring this up and we can crop it. So it's a little bit off right here. If we want to straighten it out, we can easily straighten it out by resizing it. So we're going to make the height just, see if we can make it just a little bit bigger. See if that works. It's getting closer. See, it's getting closer. So we're going to maybe just a little bit more. That actually looks pretty good to me. Okay, so now I'm going to move this over just a little bit because there, baseline that right there. Okay, now you will do the same thing on the other side. So now I've baselined this one and I've baselined this one, and I'm going to go ahead and take out my area. Okay, and look how pretty that looks. Look how good that does. And so now I can come over here and I'm going to go up a little bit, and I'm going to take this next area right here, make another area. So I need to get onto simulation, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this to another area. So I'm going to do area, and I'm going to put it right on that line right there, right here. Okay, and now I'm going to just do two corner. All I have to do is just do a two corner area, and I'm going to come down to right here. Now, there's another way that you can do this. You can actually put it long, but I like to do row by row by row by row. So I'm not going to actually connect my points. What I'm going to do, another two corner, and then I'm going to take and select this top one again, and I'm going to duplicate it because it's pretty much in the right position as what we want anyway. And I'm going to modify it and rotate it again. Okay, and let's rotate it again and make sure that we go small so we can see everything. Bring this up, and now I just need to drag this over here, and I'm going to make sure I have that cropped. So now I'm going to zoom up zoom up just a little bit because I need to make sure that I get this in the right spot. So if I come up a little bit, see how this last line right here, and we can go ahead and crop this. Once we get this inside here, crop it outside, close the edges, And if we come and we just make sure that we've got enough space in between, just like that, right? So if we bring this down just like that and get it right in that line, now we can crop it, okay? So now that's exactly what I want, and I'm going to baseline it because that's perfect what I want. And I'm just going ahead and going swapping my starts and my stops again. That's all I did. Okay, it's been baselined, so now I can remove my area and I can look at it. And that's exactly what I want. I like that. Okay, so I have this all done. So you just keep doing this on and on and on and on. Now, just bring it all the way down. If you want to, when you get to this row, okay, so you can go ahead and stitch out this row and this row. Just make sure that all of it fits within your throat space. When you start on this row, then you're going to quilt this first, and then you're going to quilt this, the rest of this, and then you will also quilt this part here. What you can do, because if everything is set up properly, you might be able to take this and just duplicate it and then rotate it or flip it, right? So you will flip it over, then it might actually meet right in here. If it doesn't, then you'll have to do the multi-point again. But you can take this and you can copy it and move it over, right? And so you can keep building down this one. If I was doing this quilting, I typically don't quilt my whole quilt. So I don't set up my whole quilt. I will quilt in 1 or 2 rows, okay? So you can come down here and do row by row, and then that's all you have on your screen. Once you quilt this top part out, you can actually remove it, okay? Once you quilt this part right here out, you can then just take this, and I'm going to take this right here just for fun, and I'm going to edit and duplicate, and not sure where it went, right there, okay? And I'm going to come up here just like this and make sure that it is exactly right. So now if I take this out and this out and this row right here, just leave it there, and you're going to stitch out this row, this second row, this on your border, this, and then you just keep going. So you will, at the end, when it goes to it, when you advance it and it moves over to the advance, you want to go ahead and cancel it out and then put your start back over here, okay? And so then your start will be here, and then this will be your next one that you'll have to adjust. Pro stitcher, next new start and end, and then you're going to jump it, and it went to the wrong box because I didn't select the right one, and so we're just going to jump to this row. So we will stitch this out and then this row right here, starting here, and then we will stitch this one, okay? So then if you keep stitching the same row over and over and over every time you advance, then when you get down to the bottom of this, then you can take and do the same thing that you did in this corner right here, this corner, and then this bottom one, and then this corner, okay? So you just take it, this one and this one and this one, and that's all you have to do. And if you need additional help, because maybe you find this video a little bit more confusing, just keep in mind that I can do Zoom, set up Zoom classes. I can set up a one-on-one with you, and there's different options. So just contact me if you want more instructions, or you want me to talk about specific designs and how I would do it. Just let me know, and I will set something up with you, and we'll get you going on this, okay? So that's all for now, and if you have any questions or need something different, let me know. That's all for now. See you next time. Bye.